What would happen if one morning you woke up and could no longer understand the language of your parents? What if your grandmother speaks to you and you can no longer understand what she's saying? What if you speak to your own children and they are like, Daddy, what are you saying? I don't understand that language you are speaking. And you explain to them that you are speaking your indigenous language. And they ask, this is no longer a faraway nightmare. This is already happening among us. And if you do not take care or wake up, one day we may look around us and discover that the Igbo language and all her dialects that constitute an army and a navy, our names, our culture, our soul, everything we represented, the candle that was handed on to us has disappeared. That is where we are heading to in terms of the preservation of the Igbo language. I want you to watch this video for the next couple of minutes because this is not just about language. It is about dignity. This is about survival. This is about whether we as a people will continue to exist with pride or whether we will fade away, forgotten. Let's look at the beauty of the Igbo language. Languages are powerful. The more languages you speak, the wider your world becomes. But the language of your ancestors is more than just communication. It is your identity, it is your soul, and it is your dignity. All the cultural practices of your people are embedded in that language. Now, children can learn as many languages as we teach them. English, French, Chinese, yes. But that should not and never mean abandoning our Igbo language, because when we lose our language, we lose ourselves. The easiest way to lose yourself is to lose the cultural values of your people and their language. But it is not just about language. Look at the names we are now beginning to give to our children. Strange names. Names chosen not because of their deep Igbo meanings, or because of their cultural ties, or because of the circumstances surrounding the birth of that child, but because the name sounds Western. Names like Chibuike will now begin to answer Chibaik. Names like Azubike will now be turned to Zubi. Names like Okechukwu will now be turned to Oke. Names like Ikechukwu will now be turned to Ike. Names like Osai will now be answering names like Sai. I mean, we are beginning to change our names to sound Western. Names like Chief Ziterem will now be shortened to Zite. Names like Chief Zara will now be answering Zara. Names like Chufu Jilem will now be answering Jude. I mean, we are beginning to change and spoil our identity, the unique thing for which we are known, and that which our ancestors passed on to us and entered. If you already find yourself bearing one of these names, my dear, don't blame yourself. I blame your parents because you were not there during the naming ceremony. You were just there as the celebrant. You were not aware of the names that were given to you. Only grew up to see these names, that they are your name. Once upon a time, the Igbo names and Igbo language carried so much weight. They carried prayer. They carried declaration. And they told a little story about the day a child was born, the circumstances surrounding the birth of that child, things that happened before that child was born. You can hear names like Ubaja and tell that this child, the parents may have had issues spiritually, and then they had this child. I gave the child Ubaja. You may hear names like Udene. You may hear names like Ofiajo. You hear names like Owugamakwa. You will know that the parents of this child probably had lost a child before that child was born. You will hear names like Ofuedu. Names like this are spiritual guides, cultural identity, and most importantly, very meaningful. Names like Chukwuode, God exists. Names like Nkechi, Nkechika, tomorrow is greater. Names like Obinna, the father's heart. Names like Ofuedu, the just will continue to try and live even when the enemies are chasing after him or her. When you call a child by such a name, you are blessing them every day. But when you shorten our destiny to sound like foreigners, what are we really saying? Are we saying we do not value ourselves or we do not value our names anymore? How can Chiziterem become Zite? Azubike becomes Zubi. Chibuike becomes Chibike. How did we get to this stage? Some people argue, let my child learn English only. It will help them to get a job. Let them learn French. It will help them. Let them learn Mandarin and Chinese. It will help them when they travel abroad. But life is not only about jobs. Human needs are not only material. Yes, we must feed ourselves and stomachs, but we must also feed our souls. It is the dignity that feeds the soul. It is the dignity that this is where I come from. I am from a proud ancestral heritage that feeds the soul. Look at a small place like Iceland, a country of less than 500,000 people. Yet, they fight to keep their language alive. Look at a place like Ireland. Their language was once dying, but they fought to bring it back. Not because Irish will get them any job in America, but because language is dignity and they understand that. So why do we, as millions, over 60 million of us as Igbo people say, Igbo will not put food on your table? That, my dear friends, is foolishness. Because a people without dignity will never prosper. No matter how many jobs they have, no matter how many jobs they create yearly, people without dignity will not survive. The violence against ourselves, let us look at it internally. Today in Igbo land, every part of Igbo land, in the 13 states where Igbo people are found, we see things our ancestors would never believe. Ritual killings, violence against women, arson, kidnapping, all kinds of evil that was never mentioned among our Igbo ancestors are now becoming a norm in Igbo land. This is not us. This is not who we are. In Igbo culture, life is sacred, and that is why we give names like Ndoka, Ndubuisi, Ndokaku. Do we even believe today that Ndokaku? That is why we had names like Ezia Fakego, and people proudly bore those names. Do we even believe in Ezia Fakego today? Even in our famous book, Things Fall Apart, written by our dear brother, late Professor Chinua Achebe, when Okonkwo in Things Fall Apart accidentally killed a man, his community punished him. It was an accident, quite all right, yet they burnt his house and vanished him because life was considered sacred. And now, we hear women, the backbone of the Igbo society, being used for rituals. Remember, it was women who led the Aba women's resistance of 1929. In places like Ubuluku, it was women like Arunwa and Nori that helped during the Ekumeku resistance to lead the battle. We have had women fighters and women soldiers. Till today, we still have women representatives of Igbo culture in different areas of Igbo land. Today, we have prominent women like Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie making waves and spreading our name all over the world. We have people like Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, flying high the flag of Africa, Nigeria, and of course, her Igbo roots. We have people who are no longer here with us. People like late Professor Dora Utemu Akunyili, who is still known tomorrow and today for her integrity. We have continued to have exemplary Igbo women. But what have we turned women to today? We have reduced them to victims of either domestic violence or ritual killings. This is not who we are. I say again, this is not what Igbos are known for. My brothers and sisters, KMI, what is going on? Where did we get it wrong? And how can we get it right? Where did we get it wrong? And how can we get it right? We have to be asking the right questions. People with entailed sources of income are continually getting chieftaincy titles at various palaces across Igbo land. People with no means of income are not proven source of wealth. Where did we get it wrong and how can we get it right? Is this the same Igbo land that gave the world the lives of our kingdom? Is this the same Igbo land that gave the world the artifacts we are celebrating all over the world today, the Igbo arts, the later iron smelting sites, the historical sites of anthropology where axe heads dating over 250,000 years were discovered at Ugwuele? Is this the same Igbo land that resisted colonialism for over 31 years during the Kumepu anti-colonial resistance struggle? Is this the same Igbo land? Or is this a different set of Igbo people? Where did we get it wrong and how can we get it right? This is not what Igbo people are known for. I say it once.
Hey, Luan.